Serrated tussock. I get the tussock bit, but what do they mean by serrated tussock, and why is this a weed?
Sure. Well, serrated, it basically refers to the foliage, and when you run your fingers down the foliage, you'll feel small serrations.
Oh.
So this is a key to identifying this species. It's a tussock grass, which is quite an invasive species. It's declared noxious weed. It can take over quite vast areas quite quickly. And it's been known to take over large full paddocks within 7 years of having the first individual sighted. Basically, it's quite a robust species. It's really low in protein, so not very good fodder, and it's really high in silica. So animals tend not to eat it, and often in paddocks you'll see all the other species being grazed out except for the serrated tussock.
Really?
Where we come to drought conditions and the only thing left is serrated tussock, animals start to eat it. It causes all sorts of gastrointestinal issues and can bind up in their stomachs, and animals can starve to death based on the fact that they can't ingest any other food. It's a real issue in that respect. It's an environmental weed as well. It takes over areas of bushland and eventually, if left unchecked, will swamp out all other species and basically provide no food resources to any other herbivores in the area. It spreads by a couple of different means, but mainly by its seed moving in the wind. So it has these large, arching, airy seed heads, panicles, which break off and then tumble through the landscape, settling in certain areas, but also dropping seeds all the way along that route, and eventually those seed heads will finish up somewhere, and they cause these big kind of piles of debris and can become a fire risk on fence lines and buildings and things like that. So a bit of an issue. The seed can also move on stock, so it moves either in their fur or in their wool or in their droppings, but also on machinery, and that tends to be the way it moves around the landscape in urban areas, is on machinery, where slashers might be slashing in an area where there's seeding serrated tussock grass and moving that around the landscape.
That's good to know, because when you look at it, it looks sort of like some kind of an Australian native grass, but now you've described it so clearly, and being able to do that test of running your hand along and feeling the serrations, that's helped to identify it for me.
Absolutely,
really
yeah.
good.
So that's a real identifying key feature of this species. It's also a really strong, deep-rooted species as well. So it competes in the root space as well, and then eventually swamps out some of the lilies and orchids and things that tend to grow from tubers below the soil. So yeah.
Thank you.